The ink on my daughter's birth certificate wasn't even dry when my husband threw a folder onto my hospital bed. I thought it was a gift. I thought it was a trust fund for our newborn baby. But when I opened it, my heart stopped beating. It wasn't a gift. It was divorce papers. My mother-in-law stood in the corner smiling and told me, "We have the heir. We don't need the incubator anymore." They thought they were discarding a poor, helpless waitress. They had no idea they just handed a divorce and total freedom to the secret owner of the very empire that keeps their family afloat. Today they broke my heart. Tomorrow I break their bank account. The sterile smell of the hospital room was usually associated with healing, but for Sophia Vance, it smelled like impending doom. The rhythmic beep, beep, beep of the heart monitor was the only sound cutting through the suffocating silence. Sophia shifted uncomfortably in the bed, wincing as the stitches from her C-section pulled tight against her skin. In her arms lay Clara, barely 6 hours old. The baby was a tiny, fragile thing, wrapped in a generic hospital blanket, her eyes squeezed shut against the harsh fluorescent lights. Sophia looked down at her daughter, a surge of fierce, protective love washing over her. She had done it. After a difficult pregnancy and a terrifying labor, she had brought this life into the world. "Mark," Sophia whispered, her voice raspy from dehydration. She looked toward the leather armchair in the corner of the VIP suite. Mark Rutherford, the man she had loved for 3 years, the man she had married against all odds, didn't look up from his phone. He was a handsome man with the kind of chiseled jawline and blonde hair that usually graced magazine covers, but at this moment his face was twisted into a scowl of impatience. "Is she asleep?" Mark asked, finally pocketing his device. There was no warmth in his voice. "No. How are you feeling, darling? No. She's beautiful. Just a clinical inquiry about the noise level." "She's sleeping," Sophia said softly, trying to suppress the hurt bubbling in her chest. "She has your nose, Mark. Come see her." Mark stood up, adjusting his bespoke Italian suit. He didn't walk toward the bassinet. Instead, he walked toward the door and opened it. "Mother, you can come in now," he said. Sophia's stomach dropped. Beatrice Rutherford. The click-clack of expensive heels on the linoleum floor announced her arrival before she even appeared. Beatrice swept into the room like a storm cloud, dressed in Chanel. Her silver hair was coiffed to perfection, her pearls cost more than the house Sophia grew up in, and her eyes were cold, hard flint. "Well," Beatrice said, not looking at Sophia, but staring critically at the bundle in Sophia's arms. "Let's hope the DNA test confirms it quickly so we can move on to the next phase." "DNA test." Sophia clutched Clara tighter. "Beatrice, what are you talking about, Mark? Why is she talking about a DNA test?" Mark finally looked at her, but his eyes were devoid of the love he had promised her at the altar. They were empty. "It's standard procedure, Sophia. My family has assets to protect. We can't just have any random child inheriting the Rutherford name." "Random child?" Sophia's voice rose, trembling. "This is your daughter. You felt her kick. You were there when we heard the heartbeat." "Things change," Mark said dismissively. He reached into his briefcase, the one Sophia thought contained gifts, or perhaps paperwork for the baby's insurance, and pulled out a thick manila envelope. He tossed it onto the bed. It landed with a heavy thud next to Sophia's legs. "What is this?" Sophia asked, her breath catching in her throat. "Open it," Beatrice commanded, taking a seat in the chair Mark had vacated. She crossed her legs elegantly, looking for all the world like she was attending a board meeting rather than visiting her new grandchild. With trembling hands, Sophia set Clara gently into the bassinet beside the bed. She picked up the envelope, her fingers struggling with the clasp. When she finally slid the documents out, the bold black letters at the top of the page made the room spin. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Sophia stared at the words, unable to comprehend them. Divorce, Mark. I just gave birth 4 hours ago. We just started our family. The family is secure, Beatrice interjected smoothly. We have the child. As for the marriage, well, let's be honest, Sophia. It was a lapse in judgment on Mark's part, a rebellion against his station. He married the waitress he met at a diner. It was quaint. It was a phase. But phases end. Sophia looked at Mark, tears streaming down her face. Is that all I was to you? A phase, a rebellion? Mark sighed, looking pained not by guilt, but by the inconvenience of her emotions. Sophia, look, it's not working. You don't fit in our world. You struggle to use the right fork at dinner parties. You don't know how to talk to the wives of my investors. You're simple. And now that the baby is here, my mother is right. We need to focus on the future. And the future, Beatrice added with a cruel smirk, involves Jessica Thorne. You know Jessica, don't you? The daughter of the Thorne Steel Empire. She and Mark have been reconnecting. The name hit Sophia like a physical slap. Jessica Thorne, the woman who had sneered at Sophia at the chaos of the wedding reception. The woman who always seemed to be at the same galas, touching Mark's arm a little too familiarly. You're leaving me for her, Sophia whispered. While I was carrying your child. Jessica understands the pressure of my life, Mark said defensively. She brings capital connections and status to the table. The Rutherford business is going through a turbulent time. We need the merger. Jessica is the merger. So you're selling yourself? Sophia spat out a sudden flash of anger cutting through the grief. You're selling your wife and daughter for steel shipments. Watch your tone, Beatrice snapped. You should be grateful. Look at the terms. She gestured to the papers. Sophia looked down at the legal jargon. Her eyes scanned the section labeled Settlement. The petitioner Mark Rutherford shall provide a one-time severance payment of $10,000. The respondent Sophia Vance waives all rights to alimony marital assets and real estate. The respondent agrees to sole physical custody of the child Clara Vance, with the petitioner waiving all parental rights and financial support obligations, provided the respondent leaves the city of New York within 48 hours. Sophia froze. She read it again. You don't want Clara. Mark looked away, shifting his weight. Jessica isn't fond of children, especially not mine. Sophia finished for him. She doesn't want my baby. It's better this way, Beatrice said, standing up and smoothing her skirt. You take the girl. You get $10,000. That's more money than you'd make in a year slinging coffee at that diner. You can go back to whatever trailer park you crawled out of and start over. A clean break. And if I don't sign? Sophia asked, her voice low. Beatrice laughed, a dry, humorless sound. Oh, honey, look at you. You have no money, no lawyer, no family. If you fight us, we will bury you in legal fees until you starve. We will paint you as an unfit mother. We will take that baby, put her in the foster system, and ensure you never see her again. Mark has the best lawyers in the city. You have nothing. Sophia looked at Mark. You would let her do that. You would put your daughter in foster care just to hurt me. Mark's face hardened. Just sign the papers, Sophia. Take the money. Don't make this ugly. Sophia looked at the man she had adored. The man she had thought was her Prince Charming. The illusion shattered completely, leaving only the jagged edges of reality. He wasn't a prince. He was a coward. A weak, greedy little boy controlled by his mother. She looked at Clara sleeping peacefully in the bassinet. They didn't want her baby. They saw Clara as baggage, a deal-breaker for a merger with the Thorne family. A strange, cold calm settled over Sophia. The tears stopped. "Pen," she said. Mark blinked. "What? Give me a pen," Sophia demanded, her voice steady. Mark hurriedly pulled a Mont Blanc fountain pen from his pocket and handed it to her. Sophia flipped to the last page. She didn't hesitate. She signed her name with a flourish. Sophia Vance. She handed the papers back to Mark. "There," she said, "I waive my rights to your money. You waive your rights to my daughter. It's done." Beatrice snatched the papers, checking the signature. A triumphant grin spread across her face. "Smart girl. You finally did something right." "One condition," Sophia said, staring Beatrice dead in the eyes. "I want you to leave. Now. I never want to see either of you again." "Gladly," Mark said, relieved. He didn't even look at the baby. "The nurse will bring you the check." They turned and walked out. Beatrice laughed as they exited the room, already talking about wedding venues for Mark and Jessica. The door clicked shut. Sophia was alone. She waited 10 seconds to make sure they were gone. Then the poor waitress demeanor evaporated. Her posture straightened despite the pain. She reached for the bedside phone, but not to call a nurse. She dialed a number from memory, a number she hadn't used in 2 years, a number that connected directly to a secure line in Zurich. It rang once. Sterling Residence Secure Line. A deep British voice answered. "Sebastian," Sophia said, her voice turning to steel. "It's Sophia." There was a pause on the other end, followed by a sharp intake of breath. "Miss Sophia, is that truly you? We haven't heard from you since you ran away to find a normal life." "The normal life is over, Sebastian," Sophia said, looking at the door where her husband had just abandoned her. "I'm at Mount Sinai Hospital. I need a pickup. And Sebastian—" "Yes, Miss Sophia. Reactivate my accounts, all of them, and tell the board of directors I'm coming out of retirement. The Sterling Group has been quiet for too long." "Of course, madam. I will have the car there in 20 minutes. Should I prepare the penthouse?" "Yes," Sophia said, looking down at her daughter. "And Sebastian, prepare the legal team. I just signed a divorce settlement that waives my rights to his assets, but they forgot to include a clause protecting them from mine." "I see," Sebastian said, and Sophia could practically hear the shark-like grin in his voice. "War, then?" "No," Sophia whispered. "An execution." The 20 minutes it took for Sebastian to arrive felt like a lifetime, yet also like a blink of an eye. The hospital staff, clearly instructed by the Rutherfords, were less than hospitable. A nurse came in, not to check Sophia's vitals, but to hand her a discharge slip. "Dr. Evans says you're cleared to leave," the nurse said, avoiding eye contact. "I just had major abdominal surgery 6 hours ago." Sophia said, her voice incredulous. "I can't walk." "Mr. Rutherford stopped payment on the private suite," the nurse mumbled, looking ashamed. "Insurance only covers a shared room, and we're at capacity. You really need to vacate." Sophia stared at the woman. The Rutherfords hadn't just divorced her. They were kicking her onto the street in a hospital gown. It was pettiness on a level she hadn't anticipated. "Fine," Sophia said. "Help me get dressed." The process was agonizing. Every movement sent sharp spikes of fire through her midsection. She dressed in the clothes she had arrived, in a simple worn maternity dress that Mark had called frumpy. She packed her meager belongings into a plastic bag. She picked up Clara. The baby felt heavy in her weakened arms, but Sophia refused to ask for a wheelchair. If they wanted her out, she would walk out. She shuffled down the hallway, clutching the wall for support. Other patients stared. A woman barely hours postpartum, carrying her own bags and baby, pale as a ghost, stumbling toward the exit. "Excuse me, ma'am. Do you need a taxi voucher?" A kind volunteer at the front desk asked, seeing Sophia swaying near the automatic doors. "No, thank you." Sophia gritted out, sweat beading on her forehead. "My ride is here." As the sliding doors opened, the humid New York air hit her. It was raining. Of course it was raining. Mark's Audi was gone. The Rutherfords were long gone, probably popping champagne at the country club. Sophia stepped onto the curb, the rain instantly soaking her hair. She shielded Clara with her body. Then the traffic seemed to part. Around the corner, a vehicle appeared. It wasn't just a car, it was a fortress on wheels. A Rolls-Royce Phantom extended wheelbase painted a deep midnight blue that looked black under the streetlights. It glided silently toward the hospital entrance, looking absurdly out of place among the yellow cabs and ambulances. The car stopped directly in front of Sophia. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. Sebastian. He was older now, his hair completely white, but his posture was as rigid as ever. He held a large black umbrella, snapping it open and moving with surprising speed to shield Sophia and the baby from the rain. "Miss Sophia," Sebastian said, his voice thick with emotion. He looked at her pale face, the plastic bag, the shivering baby. His eyes darkened with a terrifying anger. "Did they do this to you? Take me home, Sebastian," Sophia whispered, her strength finally giving out. "Just take me home." He caught her arm, gently supporting her weight as he guided her into the back seat. The interior of the Rolls-Royce was a different world. Hand-stitched white leather lamb's wool floor mats, the smell of expensive mahogany and safety. Sebastian settled her in, taking the plastic bag as if it were contaminated waste. He ran to the trunk, retrieved a cashmere blanket, and draped it over Sophia and Clara. "The heater is on, madam. There is water and protein shakes in the cooler. We will be at the Sterling Tower in 15 minutes. As the car pulled away, cocooning her from the cruel world outside, Sophia leaned back and closed her eyes. "Sebastian?" she asked softly. "Yes, madam." "Does the world still think Sophia Sterling died in that plane crash 3 years ago?" "They do," Sebastian replied, his eyes meeting hers in the rearview mirror. "The media speculation was endless. When you disappeared and your father passed shortly after, the stock market took a significant hit. The board has been running the Sterling Group in a caretaker capacity. They believe the heir is gone." Sophia nodded. It had been her father's dying wish and her own desperation that led to her disappearance. She had wanted to know if someone could love her for her, not for the billions of dollars attached to her name. She had staged her exit, changed her name to Vance, and taken a job as a waitress. She had found Mark. She thought she had found love. "I was so stupid, Sebastian," she said, looking down at Clara's sleeping face. "I wanted a fairy tale. I wanted to be a normal girl, meeting a normal guy. You are many things, Miss Sophia, but normal was never one of them," Sebastian said gently. "You are the sole heir to the largest tech and logistics conglomerate in the Northern Hemisphere. You are a chess grandmaster. You speak 5 languages. You were never meant to wipe tables for a man like Mark Rutherford." "He threw me away," she said, the pain returning. "He threw us away for a business deal with the Thorns." Sebastian merged onto the highway, the massive engine purring. "The Thorns. You mean Richard Thorne's company, Thorne Steel. Yes, Mark is marrying Jessica Thorne." Sebastian let out a short, dark chuckle. "Why is that funny?" Sophia asked. Because, madam, Sebastian said, a wicked glint in his eye, Thorn Steel has been insolvent for months. They are desperate for a buyout. They have been begging the Sterling Group for a meeting for weeks. We haven't returned their calls. Sophia's eyes snapped open. The pieces clicked into place. The Rutherfords were broke. The Thorns were broke. They were two drowning swimmers grabbing onto each other, thinking the other was a life raft. They don't know, Sophia asked. No one knows. It's confidential market data. But we know. A slow smile spread across Sophia's face. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just realized the cage door was open. So, Sophia said, her voice gaining strength, Mark thinks he's marrying into money to save his family business. Jessica thinks she's marrying into status to hide her family's bankruptcy, and they both need the Sterling Group to save them. Precisely. Sophia looked out the window as the skyline of Manhattan came into view. The tallest building in the center, the sleek obsidian needle of the Sterling Tower, pierced the clouds. Her building. Her empire. Sebastian, Sophia said, how fast can we acquire the debt of Rutherford Industries? By tomorrow morning, madam. Do it. Buy it all. Every loan, every mortgage, every credit line. I want to own the roof over Beatrice's head and the chair Mark sits in. Consider it done. And the Thorns. Thorn Steel is publicly traded, Sebastian noted. A hostile takeover would be expensive. I don't care about the cost, Sophia said, stroking Clara's cheek. Buy 51% of the shares. Do it through shell companies. I don't want them to know it's me. Not yet. And when do you want them to know? Sophia watched the Sterling Tower get closer. Mark said they are having an engagement party next week, a big gala to announce the merger of the Rutherford and Thorn families. Yes, it's the talk of the society pages. Get me an invitation, Sophia said. I think it's time the dead heiress made an appearance. I want to see their faces when they realize the woman they kicked to the curb owns the ground they walk on. The car pulled into the private underground entrance of the Sterling Tower. Security guards, recognizing the car and perhaps tipped off by Sebastian, stood at rigid attention. As the door opened, Sophia Vance, the waitress, the discarded wife, stayed in the car. Sophia Sterling stepped out. She winced at the pain in her abdomen, but she stood tall. She looked at Sebastian. Let's go upstairs. I need a shower. I need a stylist. And I need my lawyer. The Rutherfords wanted a divorce. I'm going to give them a war. The elevator that opened directly into the penthouse of the Sterling Tower didn't ding. It arrived with a hushed pneumatic sigh. As the doors parted, Sophia stepped into a world she hadn't seen in 3 years, a world of floor-to-ceiling glass, Italian marble, and silence so profound it felt like a physical weight. A team of staff was waiting in a line, heads bowed. "Welcome home, Ms. Sterling," they chorused softly. Sophia, still clutching Clara in the cashmere blanket, felt a lump form in her throat. Just an hour ago, she had been a nuisance in a crowded hospital hallway, worried about how she would afford a taxi. Now she was standing in a living room, larger than the entire house she had shared with Mark. "Thank you," she whispered. She turned to Sebastian. "I need a doctor, a private one. Someone who can check my stitches and look at Clara without asking questions." "Dr. Alistair is already en route, madam," Sebastian replied, taking her elbow to guide her toward the master suite. "And the nursery has been reinstated." Sophia walked into the master bedroom. It was exactly as she had left it, the silk sheets, the view of Central Park, the faint scent of lavender. But now, a white, hand-carved crib stood near the bed. She laid Clara down gently. The baby stirred but didn't cry. "You're safe now, little one," Sophia murmured, tracing the curve of the baby's cheek. "No one is ever going to treat you like a burden again." The next 3 days passed in a blur of healing and strategy. Dr. Alistair, the discreet family physician, tended to Sophia's wounds, shaking his head at the shoddy stitching the hospital had done. A team of night nurses was available, but Sophia refused to let Clara out of her sight, sleeping with the bassinet right next to her bed. By the 4th morning, the physical pain had dulled to a manageable ache, replaced by a sharp, focused mental clarity. Sophia sat at the head of the massive mahogany table in her private conference room. She wore a silk robe, but her demeanor was strictly business. Opposite her sat Arthur Pendleton, the Sterling family's chief legal counsel, and Marcus Chen, the head of finance. Both men looked like they had seen a ghost. In a way, they had. "The death certificate has been rescinded," Arthur said, pushing a folder across the table, his hands trembling slightly. "Legally, Sophia Sterling is alive, but publicly, the world still thinks you're gone. The stock price has remained stable because we haven't released the news." "Keep it that way," Sophia said, sipping a cup of herbal tea. "I need the element of surprise. Now talk to me about Rutherford Industries." Marcus Chen tapped his tablet, projecting a complex web of financial data onto the smart glass wall. "It's worse than we thought, Ms. Sterling," Marcus said. "Mark Rutherford has been running the company into the ground since his father passed away 5 years ago. He has leveraged the company's assets 3 times over. He's taken high-interest loans from private equity firms to maintain their lifestyle." "And the Thorne merger?" Sophia asked. "It's a house of cards propped up against a burning building," Marcus scoffed. "Thorne Steel is being investigated by the SEC for inflating their numbers. Mark thinks Jessica Thorne's dowry will save him, and Jessica thinks Mark's real estate holdings will save her. If they merge, the combined debt will implode within 6 months." Sophia stared at the red numbers on the screen. "They are destitute. They just don't know it yet." "Correct," Marcus nodded. "They are currently living on credit lines that are due for renewal next week." "Who holds the debt?" "A mix of 3 banks, but the majority the mortgage on the Rutherford estate, the lien on their factory, and Mark's personal credit lines is held by faint-hearted investors looking to sell. They consider it junk debt." Sophia set her teacup down. The clink echoed in the room. "Buy it," she commanded. Marcus blinked. "All of it. It's a terrible investment, Miss Sterling. You'd be buying millions of dollars in bad loans." "I'm not buying it for the return on investment, Marcus," Sophia said, her eyes cold. "I'm buying the right to foreclose. I want to own every piece of paper that has Mark Rutherford's name on it. Create a shell company. Call it Nemesis Holdings. Purchase everything by close of business today." Arthur the lawyer leaned forward. "And the divorce settlement, you signed it." "I signed it as Sophia Vance," Sophia corrected him. "And the terms were that I waived my rights to his assets. It said nothing about him waiving his rights to mine, because he didn't know I had any. However, there is a fraud clause. If he failed to disclose the true state of his finances, which he did by lying about the stability of his company, the agreement can be challenged." "But you don't want to challenge it, do you?" Arthur guessed. "No." Sophia smiled, a dangerous expression that didn't reach her eyes. "I want him to think he's safe. I want him to have his party. I want him to stand on stage with Jessica and toast to their bright future. And then, I want to turn off the lights." She looked at the date on the screen. "The engagement gala is on Saturday," Sophia said. "That gives me 2 days. Sebastian." The butler stepped out of the shadows. "Yes, madam." "Get me the best stylist in New York. The waitress is dead. It's time for Sophia Sterling to dress for a funeral." Across the city, the mood was drastically different, though deceptively cheerful. The Rutherford estate was a sprawling mansion in the Hamptons, a testament to old money that no longer existed. In the master study, Mark Rutherford poured a glass of scotch. His hand shook slightly as he brought the crystal to his lips. He looked at the empty space on the desk, where a picture of him and Sophia used to sit. He had thrown it in the trash 2 days ago. A pang of guilt pricked at his chest. He thought about the baby Clara. He hadn't even held her. It had to be done, he told himself, forcing the liquor down his throat. Mother was right. Sophia was dragging us down. A waitress could never understand the pressure of this life. The door opened, and Beatrice Rutherford swept in, looking triumphant. She was followed by Jessica Thorne. Jessica was stunning in a predatory way. Sharp features, raven hair, and a smile that looked like it cost more than a luxury car. "Mark, darling," Jessica cooed, walking over and draping her arms around his neck. "The RSVP list is incredible. Everyone is coming. The senator, the CEO of Techstar. This merger is going to be the event of the decade." "Are we sure about the budget?" Mark asked, his voice tight. "The caterer is asking for 50,000 up front." "Oh, stop worrying." Beatrice dismissed him, waving a hand. "Once the engagement is official, the banks will unlock the new credit tier. We just need to put on a show. Appearance is everything, Mark. You know that." "Speaking of appearances," Jessica said, wrinkling her nose. "Did you hear that the incubator left the hospital?" Mark stiffened. "Sophia." "Yes, the hospital called. She checked out against medical advice." "Good riddance," Jessica laughed. "I hope she took that brat back to whatever gutter she came from. Can you imagine a waitress trying to be a Rutherford?" It was embarrassing, Mark. Truly. Mark forced a smile. "It's over, Jessica." She signed the papers. "She's gone." Just then, Mark's phone on the desk buzzed. Then the landline rang. Then Beatrice's cell phone chimed. The room fell silent. It was a cacophony of notifications. Mark picked up his desk phone. "Rutherford residence." "Mr. Rutherford." A frantic voice spoke on the other end. It was his personal banker. "We just received a notification. Your primary mortgage and the business loans, they've been sold." Mark frowned. "Sold banks trade loans all the time. What's the issue?" "The issue is who bought them, sir. They were purchased by a private equity firm called Nemesis Holdings, and they've invoked the immediate review clause." "What does that mean?" Mark asked, gripping the desk. "It means they've frozen your liquidity. Your credit cards, your company expense accounts, they're locked until Nemesis Holdings reviews your collateral. Mark, your accounts are frozen." Mark dropped the phone. The blood drained from his face. "What is it?" Beatrice snapped. "Who was that?" "My cards," Mark stammered. "They're frozen. Some company bought our debt." "Well, fix it," Jessica shrieked, her facade cracking instantly. "I have a dress fitting in an hour. I can't have my card declined." "It's just a glitch," Beatrice insisted, though her eyes darted nervously. "A banking error. We will sort it out Monday. We cannot let this ruin the gala. Use the cash reserves in the safe if you have to." Mark nodded slowly. "Right. Monday. We just have to get through Saturday night." He didn't know that Monday would never come. Meanwhile, in the penthouse of the Sterling Tower, the transformation was complete. Sophia stood in front of a full-length mirror. The woman staring back was unrecognizable from the pale, exhausted patient in the hospital gown. Her hair, usually tied back in a messy bun, had been dyed a rich, glossy chestnut and fell in cascading waves down her back. Her skin glowed the result of top-tier dermatological treatments. But it was the dress that made the statement. It was a custom creation, a deep blood-red velvet gown that hugged her figure. It was elegant, regal, and aggressive, the color of power, the color of revenge. Around her neck, she didn't wear delicate pearls. She wore the sterling sapphire, a massive, deep blue stone surrounded by diamonds, a family heirloom that was rumored to be lost. Sebastian stepped into the room, holding a black envelope. "The invitation, madam," he said, bowing low. "We acquired it from a guest who, unfortunately, fell ill and cannot attend." Sophia took the black envelope. It was embossed with gold letters, the engagement of Mark Rutherford and Jessica Thorne. "How is Clara?" Sophia asked, her eyes softening as she looked toward the nursery. "She is sleeping. The nannies are with her. The security detail is doubled." Sophia nodded. She turned back to the mirror, applying a coat of dark red lipstick. "Mark thinks I'm crying in a trailer park," she said to her reflection. "He thinks he's the king of the world." She snapped the lipstick case shut. "Let's go crash a wedding." The grand ballroom of the Pierre Hotel was a kaleidoscope of diamond silk and desperate ambition. The air smelled of expensive perfume and even more expensive lies. Mark Rutherford stood near the ice sculpture, a tacky carving of two swans intertwined, wiping sweat from his brow. He checked his phone for the 10th time. The banking app still showed a grey padlock icon next to his accounts. Locked. "Stop fidgeting," Beatrice hissed, appearing at his elbow with a glass of champagne. "You look guilty. Smile, Mark. The senator is looking at you." "Mother, the card was declined for the florists," Mark whispered, panic edging his voice. "I had to write a personal check. If they try to cash it before Monday—" "It won't matter," Beatrice said, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk. "Once you announce the merger with Thorne Steel, tonight investor confidence will skyrocket. We'll have private lenders begging to give us cash by midnight. Just get on that stage and sell the fairy tale." Across the room, Jessica Thorne was holding court. She wore a white sequined gown that looked suspiciously bridal. She was laughing loudly, clutching the arm of a silver-haired man, Richard Thorne, her father. "Mark is such a visionary," Jessica was telling a group of socialites. "He knew he needed a partner who matched his pedigree, not some charity case." The group laughed politely. They all knew the rumors about Mark's waitress wife. But in this circle, money forgave all sins. Suddenly, the hum of conversation in the ballroom faltered. It started near the entrance, a ripple of silence that spread outward like a wave. The string quartet, sensing the shift in atmosphere, trailed off into a discordant squeak. Heads turned. Gasps were audible. The double doors at the far end of the ballroom had swung open. Standing there, framed by the golden light of the foyer, was a vision in blood-red velvet. It was Sophia. But it wasn't the Sophia they knew. The frantic, disheveled woman in the denim apron was gone. The pale, exhausted patient in the hospital gown was a distant memory. This woman stood 6 feet tall in her heels, her posture regal, her chestnut hair cascading in perfect waves over one shoulder. The red dress was a masterpiece of construction, hugging her post-pregnancy curves in a way that defied physics, slit high up the thigh to reveal a glimpse of diamond-encrusted stiletto. But it was the necklace that made the room stop breathing, the sterling sapphire. A gem so large and rare it had its own Wikipedia page. She didn't wait to be announced. She simply walked in. The crowd parted for her. It was instinctual. She moved with a predatory grace, her eyes fixed on the stage where Mark and his mother stood, frozen. "Who is that?" someone whispered. "Is that a movie star? Wait, is that the ex-wife?" Mark felt his knees go weak. "Sophia," he choked out. Beatrice recovered first. Her face contorted into a mask of fury. She marched down the steps of the stage to intercept Sophia in the middle of the dance floor. "You have some nerve," Beatrice spat her voice low, so the guests couldn't hear the venom. "Did you break in? Who let you in security?" Sophia stopped. She looked down at Beatrice, her expression one of mild amusement, as if watching a toddler throw a tantrum. "Hello, Beatrice," Sophia said. Her voice was smooth, rich, and carried effortlessly. "I received an invitation. Or rather, I made sure there was space for me." "You are trespassing," Jessica Thorne shrieked, rushing over her white dress, looking suddenly cheap next to Sophia's velvet. "Get out, go back to your trailer park. Did you spend your entire divorce settlement on a fake dress and a costume jewelry necklace?" The crowd tittered nervously. Jessica's screeching was undignified, but they were desperate for the drama. Sophia laughed. It was a dark, throaty sound. "Costume jewelry, oh Jessica. You wouldn't know real value if it bankrupted you, which, considering your father's balance sheet, is a distinct possibility." Richard Thorne, who had been watching from the sidelines, stepped forward, his face red. "Now see here, young lady. You watch your mouth." "Security," Beatrice yelled again, waving frantically at a burly guard near the exit. "Remove this trash immediately." The guard, a man named Henderson, who had worked the door at high society events for 20 years, walked over. He looked at Beatrice, then he looked at Sophia. He stopped in front of Sophia and bowed his head. "Good evening, Miss Sterling. It's an honor to see you again." The silence that followed was deafening. Beatrice blinked. "Sterling, what are you talking about, Henderson? Her name is Vance. She's a waitress." "Is she?" Sophia asked, raising an eyebrow. She took a step closer to Mark. "Is that what you told them, Mark? That I was just a waitress? You never asked about my life before the diner. You never asked why I knew how to play chess so well. You never asked why I spoke fluent French to your investors." Mark was trembling. He looked at the necklace. He looked at the deference of the security guard. A terrible sinking feeling was clawing at his gut. "Sophia," Mark whispered. "Who are you?" "I'm the mother of your child," Sophia said coldly. "And I'm the woman you discarded like garbage because you thought I had nothing to offer." She turned to the crowd, raising her voice. "Please don't let me interrupt the festivities. I hear there is a merger to announce. Go on, Mark. Get on stage. Tell everyone how you're going to save the Rutherford Empire." I can't," Mark stammered. "Do it," Beatrice hissed, grabbing Mark's arm. She didn't understand what was happening, but she knew they were losing control of the narrative. "Get on stage and announce the engagement. Ignore her. She's bluffing." Mark stumbled up the stairs to the microphone. He looked out at the sea of faces. Faces that were now looking back and forth between him and the mysterious woman in red. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mark said, his voice cracking, "thank you for coming. Tonight is about the future. I am proud to announce the union of the Rutherford and Thorne families." Jessica beamed, striking a pose next to him. "Together." Mark continued reading from the teleprompter, but sounding like a man reading his own obituary. "We will create a legacy of strength, stability, and wealth." "Objection," a voice rang out. Sophia hadn't moved. She stood in the center of the room alone, a singular force of gravity. "I'm afraid there is no wealth left to merge," Sophia said. Beatrice lunged for her. "Shut up, you jealous little—" "Sebastian," Sophia said calmly. The lights in the ballroom suddenly dimmed. The massive projector screen behind the stage, which was displaying a photo of Mark and Jessica, flickered. The image changed. It wasn't a photo. It was a document. A bank document. Notice of default and foreclosure. Subject Rutherford Industries and Thorne Steel creditor. Nemesis Holdings. A collective gasp ripped through the room. "What is this?" Jessica screamed, looking at the screen. "Turn it off. You can't turn off the truth." Sophia said, her voice turning to ice. She began to walk slowly toward the stage. "You see, Mark, when you handed me those divorce papers, you forgot to check who you were really divorcing. You thought you were getting rid of a liability, but what you actually did was declare war on the Sterling Group." "The Sterling Group?" Richard Thorne's face went pale. "The logistics empire, the $1 trillion fund." "The very same," Sophia said, stepping onto the stage. Jessica shrank back. Mark looked like he was about to vomit. "My name," Sophia announced, turning to the stunned audience, "is Sophia Sterling, sole heir to the Sterling fortune. And as of this morning, through my subsidiary Nemesis Holdings, I am the owner of all Rutherford and Thorne debt." She looked at Mark, her eyes burning with a mixture of pain and triumph. "You wanted a merger, Mark. You got one. I just merged your debt with my portfolio." The silence in the ballroom was broken by the sound of a champagne glass shattering on the floor. Beatrice had dropped her drink. "No," Beatrice whispered, shaking her head. "That's impossible. Sophia Sterling died in a plane crash 3 years ago." "I survived," Sophia said, towering over her ex-mother-in-law. "I wanted a quiet life. I wanted to see if I could be loved for me, not my money. I thought I found that with your son. But you showed me the truth. You showed me that to you people are just commodities, assets or liabilities." She reached into her red clutch and pulled out a folded piece of paper, the copy of the divorce settlement they had forced her to sign in the hospital. "You made me sign this," Sophia said, holding it up. "You gave me $10,000 and told me to get out. You tried to steal my daughter's father from her. You tried to erase me." "Sophia, wait," Mark pleaded, stepping forward, his hands raised. The reality of the situation was crashing down on him. She wasn't a waitress. She was a billionaire. She was worth more than everyone in this room combined. "Baby, please. I didn't know. If I had known, if you had known, you would have stayed." Sophia finished for him, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "That's exactly the problem, Mark. You only love what you can use. We can fix this," Mark said frantically. "The divorce. It hasn't been filed yet. We're still married. We can rip up the papers. We can be a family. A real power couple. Think of Clara." "Oh, I am thinking of Clara," Sophia said. "I'm thinking about how you didn't even want to hold her. I'm thinking about how you agreed to put her in foster care if I didn't sign." She turned to the screen behind her. "Sebastian, next slide, please." The screen changed again. It was a live feed of the Rutherford estate in the Hamptons. Moving trucks were parked outside. Men in uniforms were carrying out furniture. "What are you doing?" Beatrice shrieked. "That's my house." "Not anymore," Sophia said. "I called in the loans, Beatrice. You defaulted. The foreclosure is immediate. As we speak, my team is seizing the Rutherford estate, the factory, and the Thorne steel warehouses." Jessica Thorne let out a wail of despair. "My trust fund. My shares gone," Sophia said dismissively. "Thorne Steel is insolvent. I've already petitioned the court to dissolve the company to pay off creditors. Spoiler alert, I'm the only creditor." Sophia turned back to Mark. He was on his knees now, literally and metaphorically. "You wanted to kick me out of the hospital?" Sophia asked softly. "You wanted me on the street? Well, Mark, turnabout is fair play." She signaled to Henderson, the security guard. "Mr. Henderson, these 3 individuals, Mark Rutherford, Beatrice Rutherford, and Jessica Thorne, are trespassing at a private Sterling Group event." "Event?" Mark looked around wildly. This is my engagement party. Actually, Sophia corrected him, you failed to pay the venue rental fee. The check bounced this afternoon. I covered the bill an hour ago. So legally this is my party, and you're not on the guest list. Henderson stepped forward, his face grim. Mr. Rutherford. Ma'am, it's time to go. You can't do this, Beatrice screamed as 2 more guards appeared. I am a Rutherford. We are society. You are bankrupt, Sophia said, her voice ringing with finality. And you have nothing, no house, no company, no legacy. She stepped closer to Mark, leaning down so only he could hear her. I would have given you the world, Mark. I would have made you a king. But you chose to be a pawn. She straightened up and looked at the guards. Throw them out. The scene was chaotic. Beatrice was dragged away, screaming obscenities. Jessica was crying, her mascara running down her face in black streaks. Mark didn't fight. He just looked at Sophia with hollow, dead eyes as he was escorted out of the life he had so desperately tried to cling to. As the doors slammed shut behind them, the ballroom was silent. The elite of New York stared at Sophia Sterling, waiting to see what the Dragon Queen would do next. Sophia smoothed her red dress. She walked to the microphone. I apologize for the disturbance, she said calmly to the stunned crowd. The bar is open. The band has been paid for the night. Please enjoy the evening. I have a daughter to get home to. She dropped the microphone. It hit the floor with a heavy thud. Sophia turned and walked off the stage, her head held high. She didn't look back. She walked through the parting crowd, out the double doors, and into the cool night air where the Rolls-Royce was waiting. Sebastian held the door open. Did it go well, madam? He asked. Sophia slid into the back seat, kicking off her heels. She looked tired, but for the first time in months, she felt light. It's done, Sebastian, she said. The king is dead. Long live the queen. 6 months had passed since the night of the Red Wedding, as the tabloids had gleefully dubbed the engagement party disaster. Winter had descended on New York City, coating the streets in grey slush, but high above the noise in the penthouse of the Sterling Tower, the world was warm and bright. Sophia sat in her private office, the city skyline sprawling behind her. She wasn't wearing the red velvet dress anymore. Today she wore a sharp navy power suit that cost more than Mark's former annual salary. Madame, Sebastian interrupted her thoughts, placing a file on her desk. The quarterly report for the Vance Foundation is ready. Sophia smiled. It was her passion project, a non-profit organization dedicated to providing legal aid and housing for women abandoned by their partners. She had named it after her alias, a reminder of the woman she used to be. Excellent, Sophia said. And the acquisition of the Thorn warehouses, complete. We are converting them into low-income housing and community centers. Sophia stood up and walked to the window. And them, she asked quietly. Any news? Sebastian didn't need to ask who them referred to. Our private investigator sent a final update this morning. It seems karma has been thorough. Sophia opened the file Sebastian handed her. There were photos. The first photo showed Beatrice Rutherford. The woman who had once refused to sit on anything other than imported silk was shown standing at a pawn shop counter in Queens. She looked haggard, her silver hair unkempt, arguing with the clerk over the price of a silver tea set, one of the few items she had managed to smuggle out before the foreclosure. She was living in a cramped one-bedroom apartment with Mark, and neighbors reported loud arguments echoing through the thin walls daily. The second photo was of Jessica Thorne. The steel heiress had been abandoned by her social circle the moment the money dried up. She was currently working as a hostess at a mid-tier nightclub in the meatpacking district, forced to smile at the very people who used to envy her. And then there was Mark, The photo showed him in a cheap, ill-fitting suit, standing in the rain outside a used car dealership in New Jersey. He was a junior salesman. The expression on his face was one of utter defeat. "He tried to call again yesterday," Sebastian noted. "Security blocked it." "Good," Sophia said, closing the file. "He doesn't want me, Sebastian. He wants the safety I can provide. He misses the heated seats, not the wife." "Whatever you say, madam." "Is the car ready? I promised Clara we'd go to the park." Sophia went to the nursery. Clara was 6 months old now, sitting up and babbling her eyes, bright and intelligent. Sophia picked her up, burying her face in the baby's soft neck. "Ready to go, little queen." They took the elevator down. As they walked out of the Sterling Tower, paparazzi were waiting, but they were respectful, kept back by the velvet ropes. Sophia Sterling was no longer a curiosity. She was a titan of industry. As she was about to step into the waiting SUV, a voice called out from the crowd. It wasn't a paparazzo. "Sophia!" She froze. She knew that voice. She turned. Standing behind the barricade, shivering in a coat that wasn't warm enough for the wind, was Mark. He looked older, tired. His eyes were red-rimmed. The security guards moved to intercept him, but Sophia held up a hand. She waited. "Sophia, please!" Mark shouted, his voice cracking. I want to see her. She's my daughter." Sophia looked at Clara, then back at Mark. She walked slowly toward the barricade, stopping just out of reach. "You signed a paper." "Mark," she said, her voice carrying over the wind. "You said, and I quote, 'We have the air. We don't need the incubator.' Do you remember?" Mark flinched. "I was wrong. My mother. She pressured me. I was weak." "Yes," Sophia agreed. "You were, and you still are." "I have nothing, Sophia." Mark wept, oblivious to the cameras snapping pictures of his humiliation. "I'm living in a basement. I'm selling cars to people I used to fire. Help me. Please, just a small loan. For old times' sake." Sophia looked at him with a profound sense of pity. The anger was gone. The hate was gone. All that was left was indifference. "You had a wife who loved you when you were nothing but a man," Sophia said softly. "You threw her away to chase a fortune you didn't earn. Now you have neither the wife nor the fortune." She adjusted Clara's bonnet. "My daughter has no father," Sophia said, her voice turning to steel. "She has a legacy, and you are not part of it." "Sophia!" He screamed as she turned away. She didn't look back. She stepped into the car, the door closing with a solid final thud that shut out the cold, the noise, and the man who had made the biggest mistake of his life. Inside the warm car, Clara giggled, reaching for Sophia's necklace, the sterling sapphire. Sophia smiled, handing the baby a toy chess piece instead a white queen. "That's right, my love," Sophia whispered, kissing her daughter's forehead as the car glided into the traffic, leaving Mark Rutherford behind in the slush. Checkmate. And that is the story of how a poor waitress turned the tables on the people who tried to destroy her. It's a powerful reminder that we should never judge a book by its cover or a waitress by her apron. Mark and his family learned the hard way that when you treat people like disposable objects, you might just be throwing away a winning lottery ticket. What do you think? Did Sophia take her revenge too far? Or did the Rutherfords get exactly what they deserved? I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below, especially about that scene at the engagement party. If you enjoyed this story of karma and justice, please give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story. I have an even crazier drama coming up next week about a billionaire boss and his secret triplets. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.